Welcome to the Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Fit, the all-in-one AI-powered corporate wellness platform developed by Vantage Circle.
We all know stress is a physical and emotional response to challenges. It is a normal reaction faced by everyone. Stress helps our body adapt to new situations. However, it often comes with certain aspects. Today, we're going to discuss on the topic of chronic stress and its effects. I'm your host, Dipshi, and today I have with me health and wellness coach, Claudia Grace. Claudia here designs custom wellness programs for organizations and private coaching clients. Her holistic approach is founded with a science-based methodology and her vast experience in healthcare industry, covering a broad variety of health issues, stress reduction, chronic disease management, nutrition, and mental health support. Her various programs create healthy habits, lifestyle modifications, and inspires people to reach new heights at work and in life. Welcome to the show, Claudia.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm thrilled. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you here today. So should we move on to the first question then?
Sure, of course.
Okay, so tell us about your journey as a health and wellness coach.
Well, it's been a wonderful journey. I think the pandemic, with having all of the changes that were going on, it really caused me to feel called to really help people. I felt such negativity and such stress and such emotional turmoil that I decided to put my gifts into practice and actually do this professionally. I always did it in all my former roles. I was a physician's liaison. I worked in insurance industry. I worked with the top orthopedic doctors in United States, guiding them and managing them. I was an epigenetic consultant also. So I've always had roles where I was training or coaching in some regard. But I felt in this way, in a holistic way, that there was a great need for that today with all the new remote situation. And people just kept coming to me. So I developed a program and I just haven't looked back. It's just been very successful. And I'm really excited to share more about chronic stress with you today.
Okay, so even we are looking forward to it. So tell me, how long have you been in the area of wellness?
So I think I've been in healthcare pretty much in my whole life, in the sense that I've always been an athlete. It's always been a passion of mine. In college, I was a lifelong swimmer. I played sports. I played lacrosse. My father was a physician. So it was something that has been impacting my life as young as 13, when I used to have migraine headaches, believe it or not. And I was in a study at Johns Hopkins Hospital it was actually a meditation study where I learned to meditate. And without medicine, I was able to stop my migraine headaches. I had it was a biofeedback study. And I spoke at a medical conference sharing the results that even to this day, I never take medicine I don't get those headaches anymore, but I learned to manage pain at a young age through holistic methodologies. So that kind of stayed with me. And I think that brought me to where I am today with helping others manage their life with stress, with uncertainty, with, remote situations. I feel that I'm a good person for the job.
So when we talk about stress, so in today's world, I think every one of us is stress is it's a companion of everyday life, right? So
exactly.
So when we talk about chronic stress, what do we exactly mean by that? And what are its symptoms?
Okay, so stress can be defined as any type of change that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain. Now, chronic stress occurs when your body experiences stressors with frequency. The automatic nervous system does not activate a relaxation response on a regular basis. What this means is your body is in a constant state of stress, affecting every system in the body. And as you said, it's like a companion. The danger is that people are in such stress states all the time. It's hard for them to know or feel not stressed because we're constantly in this stressful state all the time, which is dangerous. It's really taking a toll on health these days.
Yes, even though like we all know that stress is something, it's a negative impact on our body and mind, right? So, but I have also heard and read that there can be positive aspects of stress as well.
Yes. So stress is positive. The whole point of stress is to help us in moments of danger, to be alert. It's the fight or flight.
Yeah.
All the energy goes to our hands and feet to defend ourselves and protect ourselves. That's innate in all of us. But in those moments, we can find that great strength and get out of danger and protect ourselves. That is where it's positive. It isn't positive when it is physical and psychologically damaging, because that is taking a person's ability away to function normally in daily life.
Yes.
Some chronic stress symptoms would be depression, anxiety, heart palpitations, insomnia, memory loss, poor concentration, fatigue, overwhelm, frequent illnesses and infections, headaches, irritability, and even digestive issues.
Yeah. So like when you talk, say like depression and anxiety, so most of the times this mental issues occur due to stress, right?
Yes.
So I'm assuming it's all because of chronic stress.
Right, because there are levels that you can have moments of stress, but a person who balances stress, you have those moments where, you stress or worry about something, but you can let it go. You can get to that relaxation response. You can learn to manage moments. I teach clients, for instance, to do breathing techniques. When you feel stressed, you breathe for a few minutes and then you can calm yourself down and think more critically about how to overcome that situation, how to get out of it. What is the strategy that you need to do to execute whatever activity is in, whatever task you need to accomplish. Where it becomes dangerous is when it gets to the level of burnout. And in those moments, you cannot function. You're so overwhelmed. It's a matter of physically sickness. You have loss of just really lack of productivity. You feel completely removed. The anxiety is unbearable. You could literally feel like you're having, a heart attack with heart palpitations at exorbitant levels. You are so overwhelmed that you can't perform your duties any longer. And that's where it gets very dangerous, because it goes from managing stress to not being able to manage yourself any longer or actually perform your duties in your job well.
We say stress, we know stress is a very common word and it is there in everyone's life, but these are the extreme levels impact it has on people, that it leads people to develop anxiety, depression, and those it's very difficult to come out of those situations, right?
It is difficult, but with the proper, with the proper support system, with, organizations offering mental health awareness, removing stigma. When people, when you're overwhelmed, sometimes you withdraw, you're not getting the help. When you need it and you feel like you're getting to those levels, that's when you reach out and say, I need help. I need to get a mental health assessment. I need to have a depression assessment. I need to get this under control before it gets to that burnout state. where it's, detrimental to not only your work, but your personal life, your family, like your responsibilities in other areas of your life. So that's when the work comes in and says, here's a great employee that we're noticing some work issues or, some breakdown. Let's get this person help so that we don't lose this employee, that we get him, he or she back on the right support system to get them back to be more productive as they were, and to find out where these issues are stemming from and helping them have a solution or a plan to overcome these.
Now, when we talk about chronic stress, so what are its various types?
Okay, there are 4 types of stress. The first one is called time stress, and that is when you worry about not having enough time to complete all your tasks. This type of stress makes you feel unhappy, trapped, and even hopeless. A quick tip to overcome time stress is following good time management skills so that you don't get to that level of stress. The second type of stress is called anticipatory stress, and that is when you worry about the future event. Sometimes a specific event, like an upcoming presentation. A quick tip to overcome anticipatory stress would be positive visualization techniques to imagine the situation going successful, being very successful, so that you don't worry about a future event. The third type of stress is a situational stress, and that is when you're in a difficult situation you may have no control over, like an emergency, a conflict, or a loss. A way to overcome this type of stress would be to become self-aware of your triggers when you're under pressure and how to learn to relax through those situations. Because sometimes those types of things are unavoidable. And the last type of stress is called encounter stress. And that is when you stress about interacting with certain people or a group of people. Usually, you may not like them. You may find these people hard to communicate with, or you worry about these people being unpredictable. A strategy to overcome encounter stress is finding commonalities with these people and anticipating positive interactions.
Yeah. So, I think every one of us have one or this kind of stress, right? Chronic stress.
Yes. Yes.
I think none of us are away from it.
Right. These are all very common stress types of stress. And I think it's like anything. It's like when you have more self-awareness of the different types of stress and how you can better manage those areas of your life, then it becomes easier to do, because now you know, how do I manage my time stress? Is this some major issue for me? And do I not have good action plans to make my workflow easier? Because that could be an issue for you. Or do you worry about future events a lot, or that's not an issue for you? Or are there certain unexpected events that really trigger you? So knowing the kinds of stress that can occur, I think, would be helpful for people to better manage their stress.
So, when we talk about stress, it mostly includes mental health, right? So, do you think it has more impact on mental health than physical health?
I think it's a close tie, because a lot of the symptoms they're both psychological and physical. It's mind and body, and for each person, it's very different. For some people, it's more mental and psychological, and for others, it's more physical. And I think it just depends on, what kind of stress that person's dealing with. So I think it's very different. Like I said, for each person, I do believe it's very much both, like I said, it's indicative of how each person, what kind of stress they're dealing with, and how it has taken hold of that person in particular. So it's hard to actually say exactly which one is greater.
Now, let's move on to the corporate world. So what is the relevance of chronic stress in the corporate world?
Well, the relevance is that right now, the pandemic has had major psychological impact on people globally due to the extreme conditions we were facing and increasing stress levels significantly. So I do believe that, the COVID and the pandemic really kind of put us in this remote working situation, the isolation, loss of jobs, fear of, dying and getting sick, fear of the unknown. All these things really changed our work environments. No one was prepared for what was to come, and 2 years of, on and off lockdowns, and a lot of loss of life. So I do believe that, organizations really had to pivot. They had to really look at the ones that did a thorough job with their corporate wellness, had to look at many situations on improving their systems. How did they improve their organizational systems, their workflow issues? Were they offering more mental health days? They also had to consider, if you were exposed, the exposure rates. They really had to change what they currently were offering. Like in some companies, they offered childcare services or even senior care services if their employees had those kind of needs. Many people were offering telemedicine and mental health awareness support lines, counselors for mental health services to help people get in touch with health coaches like myself, or, a licensed professional if it was more severe, so that they could have workplace seminars, workshops. Really, the mental health stigma needs to be removed. People need to feel more comfortable and safe to discuss these issues at work without negative consequences. And to provide a supportive culture. Employees are an asset to every company, and companies need to take care of their employees and honor them by offering these kind of supportive programs.
Yes, even I believe that if the work environment is very friendly and it motivates you to open up, then only employees will come out of their shell and they can easily express if something is bothering them.
Yes.
So I believe the leaders have to play a big role in that, right?
Yes. You're exactly right. It's not only the CEO, but it has to come from the management. The senior management must be on board to offer and facilitate open communication from the top down so that employees feel comfortable expressing their need for help, because many people are reluctant to say that they're not able to manage things. Even managers felt more stress because they had to support employees and they had never really had that role of being supportive emotionally. They're already dealing with their own emotions and fears and own stress levels. And now they were carrying some of the employees and they didn't feel equipped to do that. So that's where health coaches can come in to provide support to management, to also provide support to the employees, as a whole, and individually, through a lot of different workshops and seminars, from mindfulness to stress management techniques, even time management techniques, all these things to alleviate stress, to ensure that the workflow, just even relieving some teams that had more COVID situations, and extending, deadlines to alleviate the stress. Those are big things that customers and people need to recognize when there is that need to offer those employees the benefit of a little extra time if things are, as difficult as they were during the pandemic.
You're absolutely right. But one thing, how can employers do what can they exactly do to figure out if an employee is suffering from chronic stress?
Well, there's a lot of things that employers can do. Basically, as I mentioned earlier, they can offer support services through employee workplace wellness programs. What I personally do is I look at existing corporate wellness programs, and I interview from the management, what their vision is. I also interview the employees, because often what happens is programs don't support what the employees want. And you want to have a successful program where employees want to be a part of it. And, because they're usually voluntary, they're not mandatory. So a lot of times employees don't want to take the time to use it. So in this way, it could be more successful if they are offering programs that the employees want as well. There's also employee assistant programs that offer a wide variety of services for employees, and also through even insurance and healthcare programs, they offer services that are usually free that a lot of companies don't even tap into. Mental health awareness programs build a supportive culture. And very important is to offer a health line for licensed counselors, because they can be brought in, when there is emergency and there's a high level of burnout or employees are feeling stressed. They can be on site at your work to provide that, or through telemedicine, that employees, if you have to go in the office, can have that appointment right at your desk, and not have to leave the office to go, to go see that professional. Or even health coaches like myself, I offer private counseling, coaching, to work on stress management techniques and offer solutions and help, employees develop their own action plans on how to better manage stress. The difference that when you have someone who actively listens and supports creating those action plans with employees can make a world of difference of alleviating chronic stress and offering much needed support to the employees in a company.
Yeah. And when we talk about wellness programs, according to you, what are the top 3 wellness programs which are the most effective while dealing with chronic stress?
Well, like I said, just offering, different strategies, really the main foundation is looking at the organizational system, because if there are workflow inefficiencies and people are having to work at these high levels, having erroneous expectations for workers to work at this constant level, those systematic organizational levels that encourages the chronic stress. If those are mitigated, then stress levels are going to naturally go down if the workflow is kind of more reasonable correct? So looking at the organizational systems. Now, in addition, there are mindfulness practices like how to slow down. There are stress relief. One of the things I work on is it's called emotional brain training. How to, again, it's self-awareness of when you're in these moments, how to take a few minutes in as little as 10 minutes, you can completely get your body to that relaxation response. Because as I mentioned earlier, when we're in chronic stress, we're never relaxing. We're just on that. It's almost like a bicycle. We're biking through our stress without ever taking a break. And that's where it's causing high blood pressure. It can cause heart palpitation. It can feel like you're literally having almost like a heart attack because your blood pressure is so high, which is very dangerous. But if we can learn to relax, calm down, and take a few minutes to really get into that relaxation. So then there's, when you're relaxed, you have more cognitive ability and you're going to come up with the best solution for that issue. And if you don't have it, you should be able to go to a manager or have a health coach that's going to help you through a situation, or a counselor, a licensed counselor who's going to help you through these situations until you're able to better monitor that. So I would say the best programs are ones that really the organization is helping the employees from the aspect of how they're getting the types of work, the demands of their job day to day, if they're reasonable and balanced, offering different stress management programs, weekly, especially if it's at a heightened level in their work. If their work demands are so high, it could be maybe twice a month, or, depending on the levels of what they need, it could be once a month, every week. And different teams could have more and some would need less. And those are situations where companies make those kind of choices for what's best for their organization. But the difference is the self-awareness and the strategies that if each person is having these situational stress moments, that they can know what to do, how to relax, and how to kind of self-contain themselves so that they're going to make the best choice, and to feel comfortable to go to their boss or manager and say, I'm having a moment. Can you help me decide what I should do in this situation? Or go to a colleague and get a little support. And that way everybody is successful because you have this supportive culture where no one's going to feel embarrassed about reaching out if they're having a moment or, in a difficult situation.
Even exactly. So sharing culture is very needed to when you want to open up. If you have the right number of colleagues with whom you can share your problems and everything else, then it really helps because the support system is there, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, even corporates, when coming up with wellness programs. So these programs can also prevent the workforce from developing chronic stress, right? Not only not only presenting the solution, but also preventing them from suffering from such stress, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so with this, we almost come to the end of the session. So would you like to share some valuable feedback with our listeners?
Sure. Something that I found, which I thought was interesting, some of the causes, we talked about the types of stress, but we didn't get into some of the causes of stress. Some of the causes, it was work, as we've been discussing, that COVID brought to light the remote environment, which I discussed. But there was a survey a study that I wanted to mention, the Oracle study in 2021. It shared that the rising levels of mental health stress had a negative impact on working professionals, and it found that in India, more than most places in the world, were really stressed. In addition to India, Brazil and UAE were highly impacted due to emotional turmoil. They felt their lives and careers were out of control. Many of the respondents stated they were struggling financially due to poor mental health, lack of motivation, and feeling disconnected. So I found that to be very similar to the United States, that we saw a lot of the same characteristics of burnout, as we mentioned earlier, increased sick days, high levels of frustration. Another issue that can cause chronic stress is financial problems. Money is one of the top causes of stress. And stress related to finances results in distress. As we mentioned earlier, increased blood pressure, headaches, general feeling of sickness. Surprisingly, financial stress has been linked to depression, anxiety, diabetes, and even arthritis. So one thing that has really been affected is people's work-life balance, that many people are having a difficult time managing their job and then, their household duties, because, working at home has been very challenging for people, especially parents. I found out that high levels of parenting stress causes parents to be sometimes harsh and negative and authoritarian with their children.
Yes.
And really finding that time to put yourself first by getting up a little bit earlier and doing meditation, doing breathing exercises, exercising your body really helps with stress management. So I do believe that, as we mentioned, that the pandemic had major psychological effect on people globally, and that it's very important for employers to offer, that open line of communication and offer that supportive environment through, employee assistant programs, through corporate workplace wellness programs. It can really make such a difference for their employees. And at the end of the day, it's going to help everyone, your productivity, your clients, everyone's going to be served better, and your employees deserve it. The employees are the heart of every organization, and it's important to honor and support them in their struggles as we grow through this pandemic.
Yes, definitely. Like, if employees are happy, then only they can be productive, right? So that's one of the most top level priority. And these days, corporates are even acknowledging the fact, and that's the reason why they are coming up with so many wellness programs.
Yes, there has literally been an 80% increase in corporates supporting mental health programs. I think it was always an issue, but really the pandemic kind of brought it to the forefront. Because, it affected everyone. I mean, even athletes in the Olympics, they were talking about the mindfulness, practices they were doing, yoga, meditation, exercises. I mean, even knitting, I forget which athlete it was, but he took up knitting because it was really relaxing to him, and started to learn to knit. So it's really just slowing down and really honoring whatever you need in that moment, whether it's a breathing exercise, whether it's shutting your eyes and listening to a meditation for 10 minutes. 10 minutes can make a world of difference. If you go outside and get some fresh air and reset your body, it's really important. If people learn one thing, is to prioritize your health, because it is a gift. And we need to do more to support our immunity, especially with the pandemic, because stress does lessen your immunity. If you're highly stressed, you're going to be more sick, and it can cause more illness and those kinds of things.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So with this, we come to the end. Okay, tell us, Claudia, how will our listeners be able to reach you?
Oh, okay. Well, you can reach me at claudiamgrace.com. I'm on LinkedIn at Claudia Grace. I'm on Facebook at Claudia Grace Wellness, and on Instagram at Claudia Grace Wellness.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Claudia. It was great talking to you, and the entire session has been so insightful for me, and I hope for all our listeners as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dipshit. I appreciate your time, and I enjoyed talking to you and your listeners.
Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
You too. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.